Before I joined St. Mary's Medical Center in November of 2003, I served the Catholic Foundation of Western Kentucky for 15 years. And I was the Director of Stewardship and Development. I used to get asked to do presentations on applying stewardship to all the areas of our life. And one of the fun things I used to get to do is talk about how you can apply the spirituality of stewardship to alleviating some of the stress in our lives. Now, I know a lot of times when I talk to some of the aging, chronologically advantaged, they look at a guy like me and say, you know, what do you know about being 70, 80 years old? And I really don't know anything about that age because I'm not there yet. But I am a grandfather, and I have worked with the aging for a long time. And I know some of the concerns, and I know what some of the concerns were of my parents. And so I know that stress and anxiety is a very real and sometimes very powerful force in the life of our aging. And so I learned just some tools and techniques and just some thoughts to try to help alleviate some of the pressures that we feel about the things we don't have control over. And so I hope you enjoy this presentation. It's light. I try to inject some humor into using some of the spirituality of stewardship to heal some of that anxiety that we might have with life. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. This is a fun subject. I talked about stewardship for 17 years, all over the place. I got to talk in Boston, where they could barely understand me, and in California, where I could barely understand them. And you know, in 18 years, I can tell you I've never presented like this before. But I pulled out that blue suit this morning, that blue pinstripe suit. It's what I wear to funerals and to present in. And I thought, you know, this is when I feel the most stress. The most stressful time I feel. This is the uniform of stress, the white shirt and the pinstripe suit. And this kind of thing creates the most stress too. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to dummy this down a little bit. And I asked my lovely wife Linnell, and she said, you know, if you'd act a little goofy, they wouldn't know who you were. So that's what I did. I got my Jimmy Buffett outfit on and decided I felt so stressful, I'd at least look like I wasn't stressed when I talked. So that's one of the first lessons is you can't judge a book by its cover, because this is also a very stressful thing. You get up and talk to people and kind of, especially trying to tie the subject of stewardship into it, it's a little difficult because we all feel different levels of stress. When I was asked to speak about stewardship, it was always about the same thing. People didn't call me in and say, you know what, we want for you to come and talk to our community because we want our lives made better for people. Now that's okay, because the practical side of what I did really, and there's a practical side of stewardship, is that when you touch people's hearts and you convert lives, you can talk to them about money differently than you can when they're not converted. And when I talk about money, generally it's about how much do you give away and how much should we be giving away based on our personal circumstances. Now that's a very real and serious question about stewardship. And if I weren't talking about money in those terms, it was doing capital campaigns. You know, you go in, you have to build a parish hall, and you don't have the money to pay what you've got now. And so a lot of times it would call me in, and I did some consulting work for Kirby Smith and Associates. So around the country, I got to hear the same things over and over and over about we don't have enough money to take care of the school, we don't have enough money to generate revenue, we need to build a capital campaign. The stewardship word kind of comes in handy. And so you try to do a good job of broadening the context of what stewardship means, but also not so broad that it doesn't have practical application. But I heard a talk one time on applying stewardship to all the areas of our lives, which we're supposed to do anyway. And I also heard a physician talk about stress one time, and I thought the two integrated very well. So I want to talk about stress and stewardship and how the concepts and principles of Christian stewardship have some real practical applications in your life. Yes, on how much money you should give away. That's a very powerful question, a very powerful resource. But on a lot of the things that have been entrusted to our care, our choices, our reactions to what life is dealing, what life is dealing to us. So first of all, I want you to take a little test. I guess that probably right now you're not feeling much stress. So what you see come up on the screen is probably the same thing I'm going to see. But it's a stress test. I work at a hospital now, and in fact the psychiatric ward's right above me, and I spend a lot of time up there. And this is one of the first tests that I had to take, and it's about whether you feel stress or not. And you're supposed to see two dolphins jumping out of the water. If you see two dolphins jumping out of the water, like I generally do, and most of you will, you're not feeling that grip of stress right now, but some of you might see something else. So this talk's for some of you. Okay. Do you see two dolphins jumping out of the ocean? Some of you don't, I see. Everybody suffers from stress, certain levels of it, certain degrees. But what is stress about, really? First of all, what's stewardship about? Stewardship is about trying to see everything in your life as a gift of God's. Not 2% of it, not 4% of it, not 8% of it, but 100% of the journey that you're on is a gift from God. And everything that's part of that journey is a gift as well. So how well do we live our lives as if we're borrowing this time? And what pieces of our life do we live as owners? Or that we take ownership? And what periods of our life does that ownership reflect us trying to be God and to move God in our direction? And what pieces of those stewardship components help us to accept where God has placed us and God has put us? To me, that's the essence and the base of what stress is all about. It's about trying to accept God's processes and God's journey for our life, for the life of others. And when we act more as owners, then we're trying to guide and press buttons and levers that we really haven't been given control over. So that's why stewardship is such a wonderful reflection of how to do that and to use those principles to take those stress levels down a little bit. Now, I had a wonderful prayer. I'm going to have to do it from memory because it either slipped out of my folder or I didn't pack it when I packed the other things. But I want you to, in your mind, think of a person that creates the most stress in your life. Don't say them out loud, Bishop, please. But I want to know who creates the most stress. And I want you to put that person in your mind right now, okay? Inflict stress on you. So we're going to deal with that a little bit, okay? You got that person? We're going to call it that person. Poor Dennis. Is that your... Is he the one that causes the most stress in your life? Okay. Let's think of Dennis, everybody. Who's your pastor?
Father Jerry.
Okay, Father Jerry, here's a great exercise for you. We're going to put Dennis in our minds now. And shut your eyes and place yourself in the middle of the forest somewhere. Greenery everywhere for miles. So that we're so deep in the middle of this forest, there's just a little area in the middle that's cleared out that we're sitting. And we're sitting in a very warm pool. And the birds are chirping, and it's just a peaceful area. And you know, we are so far removed from society that nobody could ever find us, or ever see us, or ever know what we're doing. And what we're doing is we're looking down into this little bubbling brook, this little very cool, warm pool, and we can see perfectly the image of the person whose head we're holding under it that drives us crazy. It's a spiritual meditation. But truthfully in life, that's how we treat a lot of the problems that we have in life. What is our first response to problems in life? To remove them. Take them away. Fire them. Get them off the councils. Get rid of it. It's obnoxious. And so what I'm trying to do is get us to adjust our attitudes a little bit. You know, birds see the world a little differently. In the last house I had these great big trees in my yard. So I'm positive this is how birds see the world. But stewards see the world differently than regular people do, that secular people would have us to see it. Stewardship, people who see God as owners, see the people in their life and the circumstances of their life very differently. So the language that we use is borrowing versus owning. What is mine? What is God's? What owns me? What do I own? These are the questions. And the other thing is do we really believe that there's structure to the chaos that we live our life that way? Are the people that are on this journey with us or placed in this journey with us, are they people God has entrusted to our care too? Now, there's a lot of balance when we talk about stewardship. There are a lot of things that you have to weigh, whether people bring us down or people bring us to different places we don't need to be, make us less of a Christian. But too quickly, what we want to do with our stress and the problems that create our stress is to remove them. And sometimes we're removing things that God placed in our journey to grow us and to teach us and things that we're supposed to learn from. Now, the purpose of this presentation is not to remove the stress from our lives. You can't do that. It's impossible. We all have stress, and in fact, I would even challenge you to see stress sometimes as a gift.